Hello my friends, Black8 here, and today's video is going to cover morale crews in Armadas. This is the fourth video in the Armada series, third one specifically covering the crews. So the first thing we'll get into is that morale is different than the last two videos we've done. Your other videos we've done are on debuffing the enemy ship. So burning and hull breach apply to the enemy ship. Morale actually applies to your own ship. While you have morale applied to your ship, it will increase your shield piercing, armor piercing, and accuracy, which are what you use to overcome the defense stats on the targets, and that'll help you get a little bit more damage out. So that's fantastic. As long as you have it on your ship, that will happen, plus whatever else you have that triggers while you have morale. So the first thing I'm going to show you is something I've seen all over the internet that is touted as an early game morale crew. And so here's my problem with that, is that this is a good Federation crew. I guess it's good, but it's not morale. So we'll go prove that real quick, and then I'll get into some alternatives that you have. So you've got Bones as captain. He has, I'm a doctor, not a ... This is the McCoy gives a bonus of 42% to all the officer abilities of the officers on the bridge during combat. So the officer ability, that includes his own, this excellent medicine. So he's going to buff his own. This is 20% here, plus an extra 42% to the effectiveness of that. So excellent medicine is every time the ship gets hit by a weapon attack, McCoy increases the defense of all the officers on the bridge by 20%. You're going to get hit by a lot of weapon attacks during an Armada. That's a fantastic ability. It does build an awful lot of defense for your bridge crew. They also put Sulu on here. He's not the captain, so you have to ignore that first ability. He has ranking fire. When the ship has a morale, Sulu increases the total damage made by energy weapons by 25%. So you're going to get maximum usage out of this on a ship that uses energy weapons. Your battleships can have energy weapons. Your explorers are almost always just energy weapons. So really good morale crew to put on your explorers. You would usually use a hull breach crew on interceptors, but it's not guaranteed, and then a burning crew on battleships, but that's also not a guarantee. But when it comes to this energy weapons, you're not going to get any use out of this on a interceptor that I have this crew on, actually, that only has kinetic weapons. So keep that in mind. And then you've got Spock over here. Illogical is what would kick in. When the ship has morale, Spock restores shield health to an amount equal to 100%. This is at rank 3 of the defense of the officers on the ship. So this is going to start getting much larger as your defense goes up because of Bones. That's fantastic, except that it's never going to proc because nobody has the ability to trigger morale in the first place. So this is not a morale crew. And I wouldn't even say that it's a very good crew, because you don't get max synergy bonus because you've got both Bones and Spock on the crew. There's only 7%. It's not that good of an early game morale crew. So what you could do is you could put Arcady in, I guess, if you wanted to. He can actually trigger morale. There's a very small chance of it. I don't know what rank Arcady is here. It's 3 or 4 maybe. So when the shield is depleted, which can only happen once in combat unless you have Eurydice on there to build it back up, which we don't have. That's not what this is about. So possibly once in the entire combat, if your shield is depleted, which is already a bad situation because now you're taking 100% hull damage. Also, that means that Spock can't replenish the shield because it's already gone. He doesn't replenish a empty shield. He can only replenish one that is damaged. Arcady has a 50% chance, so not even guaranteed, of inspiring morale to the ship for 3 rounds. Only 3 rounds. So the max you're going to get is 3 rounds with Arcady as captain. It's not really good. What is a better alternative, this here is actually an early game I would consider because there's no epics on it, morale crew. So you lose Bones's I'm a doctor, not a ability that increases the effectiveness of the other bridge abilities, but you can actually trigger morale, which is the whole point of a morale crew. So he has Do Not Test Me. When the ship is getting hit by a critical hit, which happens quite a bit in your morales, there's good crews we'll discuss later on that can effectively reduce the chance of getting hit by a crit to like nothing. Sulu has a 40% chance, so not that high, but you're going to get hit by potentially a lot of critical hits of inspiring morale to the ship for just 1 round. At least when that happens, you have a chance of the other stuff kicking in. So you can do it. Morale's really hard, honestly, to get with that epic officer. And of course, what you're going to do, the best epic officer that most people are going to have access to give you morale is going to be this guy. As soon as you get him, you can tag him in. This is a very powerful morale crew, and it boosts your stats quite a bit because of this bridge ability. So once you get a little farther in the game, you have Kirk on captain, and then Spock and Bones as your officers. This is a much better setup for your morale. This Kirk is only like rank 2, So as long as the ship has morale, it increases all officers on the ship, so bonus to 40% of their stats. And then inspirational. So 60% chance every round to give you morale for 2 rounds. So there's very likely that you're going to have this up constantly. It's very rare that it's not going to be up, and then you're really going to get some use out of that. So the only other thing I would say as far as a strictly morale crew goes is if you swap Kirk for Bones, this is a very, very, very tanky build. So this will keep you in the game for a very long time because your stats are going to be way up. You're going to have morale pretty constantly. So your shield's going to be continuously replenished, especially once you get Spock to rank 4 and beyond. Mine's only rank 3 right now, but the amount that he restores to your shield each time is pretty massive. So this is your ultimate tank crew. This is going to keep you going for a very, very, very long time. Once you have this down, though, you can end up, everybody can keep a morale crew, by the way. If you don't need the absolute tankiness, you can end up doing something like this. So you toss Gorkin or Lorca on here. And now this is a hull breach slash morale crew, which is very good. You only need 1 hull breach crew, by the way. We talked about that in the last video, the video before last. One of the previous videos on hull breach we talked about. You could also drop him for Giorgio or Nero, and then now this is a morale slash burning crew, which is also fantastic. You want 1 burning, 1 hull breach. You can have infinity mini, well, 7 people max in an Armada, but everybody could have morale theoretically because it applies to your own ship. We'll talk about some other special scenarios that involve other uses for the morale crew in later videos, but for now, that's the gist of your morale crew. Very hard to get early game. Once you get to around mid-game, there's a very good chance that you have Kirk, or you will get him soon, and you can actually start taking advantage of it reliably. Late game, very, very, very strong to combine your other hull breach and burning crews with. That's the gist of this. This video's run a little long anyways. I apologize for that, but hope you got some good use out of it. Live long and prosper. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.